Welcome to part 2 of Shone's reading of I Am the Word, a channeled text by Paul Selig, a guide to the consciousness of man's self in a transitioning time. Welcome. As I sit here witnessing another remarkable sunset in this beautiful world that we call our home, Mother Nature, I'm back to again share some more of my reading of this impressive book that I've come across within my life that, as I've said, I've read many times. So if you're just joining me, this is part 2. Now, I'm not doing a reading of the full book from front to back as it would be organized. I'm reading essentially those parts of the book that I'm called to read. And this being more of an educational type of video, as I read, I will essentially share my thoughts upon what I'm reading. So, as I said, this is more of listening to what I'm reading and, perhaps for you having an introduction to these channel texts, which I find to be very helpful in my own personal healing journey. And so, in our last part, we read the first little bits of the book, the first 9 pages or so, and I really enjoyed that. Now, overall, this is an experimental series that I'm doing as part of Shone's Thoughts. It'll be its own playlist, and eventually I hope that it will lead into some kind of book club meeting type of situation, perhaps on Zoom or done within the Patreon community somehow. Nonetheless, I'm here to get it all started. So today I'm going to start reading from page 72, which is chapter 2 essentially, and it's Alchemating to Wonder. And wonder is something that I find a very powerful tool for us to utilize in our lives as adults. See, as children, when we were young, we often would wonder so many things. And as we wonder, of course, we'd have the adults around us tell us what they thought, and their answer was the answer. Oftentimes, I would wonder about things, and I would get told something that didn't necessarily make sense to me, and then I would get called a know-it-all, or I would, be put in my place that I'm a child, and I just need to accept what I'm being told. So we grow out of wonder, sometimes forcefully, and yet I truly do believe that wonder is the key, or one of the keys, to our self-healing journey and leading ourselves towards the beautiful life that I know is right beyond the veil that is falling right now. So, anyways, today we are going to read, and now that we've had 3 minutes of that beautiful scene, I'm going to take my seat and I'm going to experimentally read with you. And not necessarily experimentally. I've read this book, as I've mentioned, many times. And so I really enjoy coming back to it through spaced repetition. I learned so many new things. Hello. My name is Shone, and that's with a W. And this is Shone's Thoughts. And this is part 2 of I Am the Word. So let's get to it. Part 2, or Chapter 2, Alchemating to Wonder, March 4th, 2009. Thank you for coming back today, and yes, Paul, we will see what happens. Your energy system is actually higher than you think, and Victoria, your system is actually shifting as well. And this is the progress, and this is the anointing of a certain kind. The moment your energy system says yes to the call to alchemate itself to the Christed energy, the entire frequency rises. And it's as if there is a bubbling in the field around you. And this is one of the ways in which you will begin to feel the energies changing in your systems and the physical experience that you may indicate to the self that this is indeed in progress. And when you begin to feel as if you are an Alka-Seltzer frothing, then you will know that you are alchemating and your energy is shifting and you are rising in frequency. The reality of what is happening in your vibration has attuned itself to a higher octave, and the system then needs to align itself to the new notes it is playing and resonating with. That is, simply said, what has happened to both of you through the process of engagement with our listening and teaching you the frequency of word. Now, both of you are doing one thing that we wish you would stop, and that is actually a form of self-talk that diminishes this out of the fear that nothing could happen at the end of the road. It's as if the journey you're taking and you don't believe that there's a wonderful hotel room waiting for you at the end of the long ride. You are saying, here we go again, let's do the work. What if nothing happens? Well, we are already telling you that things are changing and you're actually wanting more information about what this is going to mean. So we will tell you a little more before we get into the lesson of the day. And this is the lesson of the day, and we have prepared in advance, and we will give it to you clearly, and we say easily. As the energies flow higher, the transmissions will become clearer and faster, and both of you will understand that through this experience of doing this, writing and hearing, that we will do today and in the following days, one at a time, each day, each lesson becomes quickly and clearly as you lift, period. Now, what we are saying to you about what is to come is this. At the end of the journey, you stand in the light, and that which has been precluded from the light, from shining through you, has been dismantled, has been released, and has allowed you to stand fully in yourself as your divine being. This is the action of the book, and that is the process you are engaged in. Now, if you want to look at this as a big car wash that you ride through, you may, but a car wash is generally a passive experience for the driver and the car. They are belted in and the ride through, and then it's done for them. And we've already told you that no one can change you but you. No one can align you to the Christ frequency but you. And yes, although we work with you daily and we give you the instruction, the manifestation of this needs to come through you and your intentions. If it is done passively, you will not have the experience that you are intending. And passive means you read a book, you listen, and forget. If you remember all the classes in high school that you slept through, that was a passive way of learning. And when the test came, you didn't fare very well. So we ask for your attention and for your decision on a daily basis to engage with the material as work and industry. Industry is what is required to move forward in this creation, and we will give you one day at a time clearly in a way that you can follow. Now, stepping aside and kind of talking what I just kind of talked about, first things that come to my mind is our healing journey is our own to have, meaning that, there's the idea of everyone is a leader, and that's because we all have to learn to lead ourselves. And with that being said, we all have to also learn to save ourselves, because in a sense, if we don't do the work, no one else can do the work for us. And interestingly enough, or what I'm seeing in here is talking about, in a sense, habits or creating a daily routine per se of just doing a little bit work at a time. See, the first time that I ever picked up this type of self-mastery stuff, oftentimes I'd be only able to, align with a short amount of it. I would only be able to sometimes 4 minutes of listening to a Ram Dass audio from Gaia was enough to put me to sleep. Yet the information was powerful. It was because at that time, my, you can say, frequency was lower. So it was more challenging for me to align to higher vibrational information. But yet through pushing forward with, resilience and love and compassion and hope for something that was better, I was able to essentially align with more of this information and hold on to it a lot longer. Now, there is a technique called spaced repetition, and this technique is basically revisiting things that we've listened to in a new unit of time. And that means even this audio right now, if you feel overwhelmed, I highly recommend possibly even turning off this video now, bookmarking it and coming back to it later, or even coming back to it tomorrow and starting it all over again. Because it's not about ever wasting time. Every time we listen to something that is higher vibrational, informative, and, even encouraging, each time, even if we're listening to the exact same things and we've memorized it, that means that we are, empowering ourselves just a little bit more. And if you know what the exponential curve on a graph looks like, sometimes you get that boost. Like, it's not just one more unit, it could be 10 more units, because it's learning, especially in self-mastery and using spaced repetition. Sometimes you can get that exponential boost. And so anyways, let's continue. Yes, Paul, there is a hotel room waiting for you at the end of this journey. But you are in the room and it fills itself with light. And the light is wonderful. It works, it aligns, it heals, it understands. It is the activation of the Christ made with one man. Promise, promise, promise. This is the work of the book. And we will say it again, that what you brought when you picked it up off the shelf, this is what you decided when you said, yes, I am the Word. And this is what you do when you engage in the text as a student of the light, period. Now let's get to the lesson of the day. This is the lesson of the day, wonder. What is wonder? Wonder is the belief in what can be possible. Wonder is an imagining and seeing, and a process of expression of the senses when one is benefited from an image, a miracle, a thought that is so wonderful that all it can do is express the wonder in the face of it. Today we want to give you an experience of wonder, and a tactical one, because the energy of wonder and that which is actually a gift. It gives you the process of experience in an immediate way. When you see something that you wonder at, that you go into wonder of, you are actually lifting your frequency, and you are imagining something you did not believe possible. If you saw the man cross the street and then lifted before, if you saw the man cross the street and then be lifted before the cab struck him and land peacefully on the sidewalk, you would have said, I've seen a miracle, I am in wonder. And that fact that you have seen, that suddenly means that it is possible for people to be plucked off the street and safely placed on the sidewalk. The paradigm and the understanding of the construct that you claim to be your reality has been transformed by the experience of what you saw and how you process the information. There are many people who, faced with a miracle in their life, will immediately dismiss it as untrue. That could not have happened, so it didn't happen. And that is what people do in the face of wonder, when it means they will have to transform their thought to a new ideal of what is possible. 200 years ago, the belief that men could walk on the moon was impossible. Today is not anything other than a fact. The belief that man can be in his Christ body and have an experience on this plane simultaneously is as radical as that. So the first thing people will want to do is dismiss it as a possibility. And to do that keeps you intact and for a frame of reference, and they believe that they have already been with. The world was flat once, if you can recall that. And there were places on the world where people actually believed that if you lifted yourself up into a cloud, you would turn into fire, or that the snow was something else than rain made hard by the weather. Do you understand? So if we believe of a paradigm shift, the first thing that we have to address is your ability to believe and to perceive wonder. Once you understand that when you experience wonder, you have a new experience of identity, because you put yourself in a relationship to that which you wonder at. And when you are in party to it in a practical way, then you can say, I am engaged in wonder. And as I am in wonder, my frequency lifts, because my imagination, the parts of me that were restricted, have now relaxed to appeal and to embrace a new paradigm, a new possibility of my reality can hold, period. So I guess we'll stop right there for a little more of me talking. See, this offers an amazing explanation of wonder and how being in a wonder can essentially shift our reality. It opens things up to new possibility. See, being in wonder doesn't mean, being in those those lower vibrational states where you're thinking, well, what if this happened? And what if that happened? And I'm sure, just as I have, many people get into that negative tailspin of believing something negative could happen. But to be in wonder, to be in the frequency of wonder, is to be in a space where things are possible and could happen that are of beneficial, and advantageous to our lives. And so being in that frequency of wonder is essentially being able to lift the world around us. Like just the wonderment of what could come down this trail, whatever it is. And as long as I'm in a higher vibrational frequency, whatever comes down will be for my benefit, even if it happens to be, for example, a bear. Right now I'm sitting in the middle of woodlands, and there's bear poop around, as well as deer poop and other animals and such. And so, the possibility is there, and I'm out here all by myself alone, but yet I'm in wonder of what could be, and therefore I'm leaving myself open to positive vibrations. And since we attract that which we put out in our frequency, I'm, safe to believe that I'm safe. So anyways, so you are part of the engagement with wonder. You can't witness a miracle and not be engaged with it. How you process, on the other hand, is everything. So we said that there are those people who will say, the man that was not lifted off the street today and placed safely on the sidewalk. And there are other people who will say, the hand of God came down and saved him. And there will be someone else who would say, there must be a logical explanation for this that I saw, and I will go about and I will find the science and the facts in order to support this new discovery. And that's actually a very rational way of approaching it, because the hand of God does not come down and pluck people out of the path of a moving car. But if you were to say to you, what could happen in a miracle actually does defy the laws and the beliefs and the systems that you have existed in, then you can understand what we are telling you. And as you begin to understand that what we are describing is not only possible, it is an actual occurring within you. And then you can believe that the work that we are telling you about is truthful, is transpiring, and is already occurrence within men, period. So we will tell the science there is an explanation that will be understood on a level of physics eventually. Everything can be explained scientifically once the science approaches it from a higher dimension and releases the old paradigm that has encased it. And the mind can perceive wonder without science and not ascribe to it something silly like a hand coming down from a cloud to pluck someone up by the collar. But the understanding of the truth of manifestation of a miracle is, in fact, the action of the Creator in combination with human energy field, with support from the guides and from higher systems. And this is what happens when great change is made. Everyone says, I believe in miracles. I believe that my mother can lift a truck to save a child who has been pinned beneath it because the mother has supernatural strength. I read it in a magazine. I believe that cancer can be healed by a priest who claims to have powers in a small church somewhere, someplace, where there is an article written about it. I believe that such things are possible, but such things do not happen in my experience, and they certainly do not happen in the ways that I can believe to be so in my world. Paul is wondering, what about wondering? Do we go back to wonder? And we say we are in wonder because what we are doing right now is describing things that should be, that could be awe-inducing. A mother lifted a truck, a child was healed, something happened that should not have happened, and it happened anyway. And it seems to defy those laws which I believe to be so. And if the law is broken once, then the law can be broken again. And we say this to you, the law is always broken. The law is always created by you every day. You create the laws with which you exist by. And collectively, the group soul, the group consciousness has gone into agreement about many of these rules. And that's why you, as a society, believe certain things. I think that's a really good point to put out, is that a lot of times the beliefs that we have are collective beliefs that we've essentially subconsciously agreed upon. As I was saying, as a child, children will often wonder many things and they'll ask parents and things around them. And after a while of getting that same answer back and forth, they believe they know the answer and they give up on the wondering, but yet wonder allows for miracles to happen. Miracles meaning something that you didn't expect. Something that was out of the ordinary, or, it seemed miraculous. It seemed like it shouldn't have happened, but it did, and therefore we have to put a label on it and call it a miracle. But yet miracles are constantly happening all the time. It's just whether or not it's perceived as a miracle. So for instance, today I was walking through this area and there are like thousands of unripe blackberries, thousands of them. And I thinking to myself, it would be really nice if they could have been ripe. And then I walk around the corner and there's this small little patch of ripe blackberries. And yet, after I ate some of those, I continued walking on and there was thousands more of unripe again. So you could even say that that was a miracle and that I was partially responsible for co-creating that opportunity to share in the bounty of this beautiful grassland, marshland, I think it's called. So anyways, when we say to you the law is always broken, the law is created by you every day. You create the laws with which you exist by. And collectively, the soul group, the group consciousness, has gone into agreement about many of these rules, and that's why you, as a society, believe certain things. Imagine right now you're on a small island where everybody believes something different and was of a high frequency in its belief systems. Their realities would be quite different from yours because the group and the collective energy can actually do a lot to change matter. And then a group decides something is so on an energetic level, that becomes its truth. And yes, that is why in the olden days, before everyone put all their focus on science, there was a higher belief in miracles. People did believe that the dead could be healed and made whole and walk, and that matter could be transformed. The water could be turned into wine, as it were. And now you have made such a denser frequency that you have existed in, and you are departing from now. So on the small island where the natives believed differently, they had a different reality. And this is the reality you are engaging in now. You are simply saying, I am in creation. I am in creation. I am in creation. And each time you say that, you decree your world to be what is on a personal level, on a collective level. Now, the country you live in right now is actually changing very rapidly because the collective beliefs of what were possible have been dismantled already, and now taking place in the physical form of transformation. And people are going, I don't know what's happening. The stock market isn't supposed to fail. We're not supposed to have a president that doesn't look like the other ones. The money that I had in the bank was supposed to support me and keep me safe isn't there. What am I supposed to do? Well, in fact, what you are doing is what you are responding to. And to the extent that you are responding in fear, you create more fear. I definitely want to go over that. See, anytime the process of fear can only create more fear. So when fear is expressed, fear can only create more fear. And so keeping that in mind, when you watch things like movies, for example, that create fear, it can only create more fear. And since we are always receiving and transmitting energy, if we are receiving fear and we're experiencing fear, then of course we're going to put out the frequency of fear. And so when we are responding to fear, we're creating more fear. So I just want to put that out there because fear is a very powerful limiting thing. To the extent that you understand simply that this is a country in its own shift, in its own idealization, in a new way of being that has not yet taken form in the physical realm, you can understand what is happening in the individuals who are engaged in a similar kind of transformation. When a person says, I intend to be different, one cannot be different without undergoing change, and that change is not always comfortable, nor is it always graceful, period. So go back to wonder. Once you understand that engaging in wonder will lift your frequency and align you to breaking out of a belief system that has held itself prominent, You can use it to benefit, to change yourself permanently, period. And we want to give you an invocation of wonder. And what we will say an invocation is a way to invoke and express and experience the light in a way that will be wonderful for all of you, so that you may move into what you are required. As you move into this wonderful place, the fabric of your reality transforms, and what you believe to be true begins to be a ladder that has always lain before you that now you can use to climb up, to transform yourself to a higher frequency. We use this image of a ladder because it's a practical image, and a ladder is three-dimensional creation. But if you can understand that climbing the ladder, you now have the experience of wonder, of a higher frequency, you can begin to use it for your benefit. So Paul, we are going to tell you this. We are going to bring you through a meditation now, and this is going to be wonderful. And we want you to sit back for it and relax with it. And the energy that we bring you will be part of this meditation, will actually be the figure of a ladder that you will climb. We recommend that when you do this for the simplicity. You do not allow it to be in any embellishment, and you simply allow yourself to be carried forward on this journey. I'm just seeing how long this part of this meditation is. Okay, so we're going to do this. All right, are you ready? I hope you're ready. So if you've lost where I'm at and you kind of wanted to check out this particular part, we're on page 81, Alchemating to Wonder, and we're going for this last little section, this last page. So let's go. Are you ready to be carried forward on this journey? Now we will ask to see you. All right, we're going to start this over again. Now we will ask you before we... I apologize, I'll try to cut that out, but if not, whatever. We now ask you to see a ladder before you, and it is a wooden ladder and it is very straight. And you stand at the base of the ladder and you look up and you cannot see the top of the ladder because it goes high into the clouds. And we will ask you to place your hand on the rungs of the ladder. And you will feel them in your hands as wood, as smooth, as solid, and as supporting you clearly in capability and their firmness. And you put one hand above the other and you begin to rise up the ladder, one rung at a time. And as you do, your frequency begins to lift and you begin to move higher and higher in frequency as you rise up the ladder in energy. And as you are reaching the top of the ladder, you have become surrounded by the Christ light, a vibration of light, a golden white light that surrounds you and encases you, and you feel this all around you, and you relax into this light, and you let this light carry you. You feel yourself drifting off the ladder and into a wonderful cloud of golden white light, and you feel yourself floating here, in this space, in this golden space where you are carried in a cloud of energy. In this place, you begin to ask yourself, what do I want for myself more than anything? What is the growth that I require for myself? And what is the experience of wonder that will align me to the possibility that I am in this process of alignment to the Christ? Now we ask the energy around you to begin to fill you. You begin to absorb the energy of the cloud that you are in, and you are actually merging with the golden white light that you have been in comfortably, floating. As you merge with this light, you feel every cell of your being aligned to the frequency of the Christ vibration. You feel every cell in your body, in your consciousness, in your energy field, aligning to the vibration of Jesus as Christ, as whole, as manifested, as the light, as whatever you need to call yourself forth in this creation. Just be comfortable in your belief that you are becoming one with your higher frequency. And that is what's happening here. Period. Now we will go down the ladder. The ladder is before you. And as you walk down the ladder, you bring your higher frequency with you, and you stand in your room in this place that you live, and you feel your frequency align to the higher level of creation, and you walk about your day in this creation comfortably, easily, and in wonder. I truly hope and trust that you've received every beautiful piece of this reading today. And as I said, wonder is a miraculous thing, and it's not really necessary that you understood everything that was said. By reading through it or listening to this audio again, you'll definitely get more. And that last part, that last section that I read, that was something that you can even do again and close your eyes and just listen and use your imagination to see what is being said with the words. I'll probably, yeah. I love reading that part, actually. I love being able to visualize stuff and things. So anyways, I'm going to leave that at that, and I hope that you have a wonderful evening, and in the future I'll be doing part 3, and if you haven't listened to part 1 already, I highly encourage you to go do that. And more importantly, I highly encourage you to go and pick up yourself a copy of this book, and perhaps when I announce it, join me for the book club, or depending on when you come across this audio, maybe the book club will already be ongoing and we'll be on to one of the future books. So whatever it is, I invite you to come share your energy and attention with any and all of my podcasts on my channel, New Earth Creations, hosted on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple, Audible, lots of different places for you to come look at. And definitely there's a lot there other than this, and a lot of art and photography and love the stuff. So please do come and share your attention with me, and I would love to hear what you had to hear about this. So leave something in the comments, and definitely all the other lovely like and subscribes and stuff, and I'll see you in the future episode of something. So if we see, this is the book, I Am the Word, a channeled text by Paul Selig, and my name is Shone.